You know, it's crazy. When I think about a lot of the problems that I have or I used to have or that I've worked through recently as an adult, it's crazy that I still had those same problems as a child, but it just seemed so much different. Hey there, my friend. I'm Super Sid, the business shaman, and this is
Tiffany Toombs, the NLP queen.
And this is the Life Coach Launch School Show. In this video, we aim to talk about childhood trauma. As recent parents of our firstborn, we have started noticing a lot recently about the things that we really want to make sure that we do as new parents to prevent any trauma that's going to happen to our now 14-month-old son. But really, as we started doing this, we started noticing some past things that came up in our life as children that might have easily triggered trauma or triggered us going into a depressive state or a stressful state. And we wanted to shoot a video talking about how the inner children that we used to be tie back to not only our self-healing journey, but tie it back to the life transformation that we hope to have. Let's hop into it. So it's interesting that we talk about this concept of inner children healing because it's a very big part of, right, the RISE method that we use in the step-by-step on helping people through their life transformation. So maybe talk a little bit about RISE and ultimately how this inner children healing fits into that model.
Yeah, so RISE is really the model that I discovered in helping thousands of people heal trauma, heal emotional baggage and childhood wounds so that they could truly tap into their potential and what they were truly capable of achieving in this life. Now, as you said, becoming parents, and I've had a lot of clients who are parents as well, and the parenting journey is also like a self-healing journey as well, because we want to give our children everything that we didn't have or that we felt we missed out on. So the I in RISE is the inner child work and the inner child resourcing. Now, what's an inner child? That's a common question that I get asked. When we experience a big emotion, anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame, any of those big emotions as a child, we don't have the tools to deal with them. And the way that we gain the tools to deal with them is by one of our parents modeling it for us over and over again. But I don't know about you, my parents didn't have the tools to manage their emotions because they were never taught.
Yeah, mine neither.
And this is really how generational trauma and limiting beliefs and behaviors get passed down, is nobody knew until somebody decides to become the cycle breaker and figure out how to do that. So when we feel those big emotions, we don't have the tools to navigate it as a child. Part of our psyche gets stuck at whatever age we were. So let's say the first time that you felt anger, you were 2 years old, your mom took you to the toy store, wouldn't buy you the toy that you wanted, you threw the temper tantrum, but ultimately you suppressed the emotion, and that created an imprint in your mind. Now, every time you felt how that 2-year-old felt, you've added to this bucket of negative emotion that you're storing. Now, when that bucket gets full, and it's not a very big bucket, but when that bucket gets full, we revert back to the age that we were when that imprint was first created, that part of our psyche that got stuck at that age. So this is why, adults road raging, that's not how an adult responds to not getting what they want or to getting cut off. That's the 2-year-old not getting what they wanted and throwing that temper tantrum. And so inner child work, the inner child is this version of us that felt this big emotion, and the inner child work is basically reparenting ourselves, becoming the parent to that 2-year-old version of us who needed to be shown how to cope with that emotion, but wasn't given that.
I think when we look back at ultimately, like, all of us can look back and see something that we had that could maybe be tied to some sort of trauma as a child. And then if we could recognize that trauma as a child is tied to possibly unhappiness that we have now, what are some things that people can not only do to find out or to figure out or to identify or whatever it might be, trauma that they had as a child, if they've never done this before, and ultimately start the process of basically healing that inner child?
Yeah, so the definition of trauma that we work off of is that it's a perception of an event. So it's not the actual event, but it's how you as an individual perceived that event in the moment that it happened. One thing that causes a lot of people to not actually go on a healing journey is they look back on the experiences they had as a child and they say, well, I understand why my parents did that now as an adult, from the mindset and the knowledge that I have now. Or that situation wasn't as bad as I thought it was now that I'm an adult and I've experienced worse things. But the imprint or the wound that's created on our nervous system actually happens at that moment, which is also why we created the 7-day nervous system reset, is to give you the tools to start healing your nervous system so that you're not being hijacked by it and being taken back to that time when you were 2 years old. All you have to do to get the 7-day nervous system reset absolutely free is click on that link in the description or go to resetmysystem.com/reset. So that's the definition of trauma that we're going to work from. Now, there are 5 core childhood wounds that we experience. You may have one of them, you may have 2 of them, you may have a combination of them, or all 5. So they are the abandonment wound. Now, this doesn't mean that you were physically or emotionally abandoned. It may be that you believed if I say this thing or if I do this thing, then I will be abandoned. Okay, so it was the belief that you would be or that you were emotionally, physically, spiritually abandoned. There's the rejection wound, there's the humiliation wound, the betrayal wound, and the injustice wound. And all of these show up in different ways in our adulthood. So for example, if you are afraid to put yourself out there on social media, or you're afraid to ask for an opportunity or to charge your worth in your business, that may be coming back to the rejection wound. I had another person that I was talking to recently who is terrified of delegating admin tasks out in their business because they don't want somebody to see what a mess their business is. This is the humiliation wound that's driving this person. And so instead of delegating tasks that they don't need to be doing to somebody else and creating a job for somebody else so that they can free themselves up to grow their business, they hold on to it, and you can see how that holds them back.
Now, regardless of any wounds that we find out or any time that we want to start a self-healing process, you and I have kind of found that, really there's one place that we need to start when it comes to any type of feeling better or ultimately starting a self-healing practice on a consistent basis. We came up with this thing called the 7-day nervous system reset, but what exactly is it, and ultimately what is it going to help somebody start doing?
Yeah, so when your nervous system is in survival mode, which it will be if you have any of the childhood wounds, which I've really only met one person ever in my life who had done enough work that their nervous system wasn't stuck there. So when you're in survival mode, it becomes profoundly more difficult to do the inner child work and to do the other self-healing work and life transformation work because you're only focused on surviving now. So you're not making decisions for the long term. You're just making decisions based on how do I survive this moment, this day, this week, this month. And that's really the furthest length of time that you'll look at. So the nervous system reset is 7 days of exercises. You'll unlock one new exercise a day that's going to help you start to pull your nervous system out of survival mode so that you can start thinking long-term and making decisions to help you thrive and feel completely fulfilled. Some of these exercises are going to be part of a daily routine, but I know you're busy, so this routine will take you less than 5 minutes a day. If I can do it with a 14-month-old running around while running a business and managing a household, you can definitely make time for it. And then the other exercises are to help you manage the big emotions in the moment. So when anxiety or stress or overwhelm is threatening to take over, you can take back control and decide how you want to show up in that moment.
So where can they find this 7-day nervous system reset, Tiff?
So all you have to do to get it absolutely free is click on the link in the description below or go to resetmysystem.com/reset.
So I think in this video, we touched on specifically one of the big key things that we really, help people with when it comes to life transformation, which is taking childhood trauma, taking childhood wounds that might be affecting us in our everyday life now, and really being able to step away from those and into a new reality of manifesting what it is that we want. So like we talked about here in this video, to get started with that process, we have the 7-day nervous system reset. You can go down there in the description and grab that. And if you're looking to begin the RISE method and ultimately go out there and live a life of transformation, starting the self-healing process and just getting consistent with it is the best place that we found in every single thing that we've ever done with regards to manifesting everything that we want, including this 97-acre ranch that we're sitting in right now. So again, I'm Super Sid, the business shaman, and this is
Tiffany, the NLP queen.
And this is the Life Coach Launch School Show. We'll see you in the next video.